right, with all of this stuff surrounding Solo Leveling Arise Overdrive, I wanted to talk about more or less what that means for Solo Leveling Arise, and also when you could potentially expect some of those awesome features like that Sung Jinwoo Monarch Awakening ability, right? Like that's totally got to come to this version of the game at some point, right? We're going to talk all about that, but first, we have to get a few things out of the way. Firstly, if you guys are go to the description. If you're not supporting anybody else, make sure you support me through the content creator program, because we will be getting 3 new codes off of doing this video, because I'm going to hit 3 requirements in this video. Firstly, they wanted me to talk about Leonard, so we're going to do that really quick. Leonard, I do not have a formal tier list that I typically keep up to date with. I chose to forego summoning for him right now because I need to try to get, for the first like 1 to 3,000, I was trying to pull more for Serin. Unfortunately, that didn't work out either. so I was kind of left holding the bag. But Leonard, this guy is insane. He is a tier 0 character, 100% worth summoning for. If you have not already got him, I 110% recommend doing so. He is one of the best characters in the game, and he fits perfectly with the pre-existing win meta. A little bit bittersweet, you know, he kind of pops in there, steals the thunder from one of the older characters, but it's all right. He's a character I think that you're going to get great use out of and that you can have on that team for quite a while going forward. Again, 100% a character I recommend you guys go for. Next, we needed to talk about the change in the battlefield. So we now have the new gem system, so this is a thing, but keep in mind that you typically still want to be farming percentage based enhancements. So even if that means you need to be using, you know, 4-star or 5-star, you know, we can do that as well and get the most out of that. And the reason why is not because of the hunters, but because the Army of Shadows get based on percentage increases as opposed to the flat percentages, or the flat numbers, excuse me. They get so much more bonuses, but regardless, they added these extra stages, thus obviously improving the cap on it and making it a bit harder, right? It goes up to 1 million now, so there's that. I mean, nothing crazy, but aside from that, you can also get these fragments are used to enhance your 5 stars into 6 stars. So if we go over to the gem functionality, I wanted to hit the gems here, and now on the gem page, everything's kind of in this self-contained area. You can promote these ones up to a corresponding one. So for example, I can take that C rank 5-star and push it up to a 6 if I wanted to do that. And it shows you that it would now turn into a 390 additional attack instead of 260. That's actually pretty significant, and all it costs is that free resource that you get just by playing the gem stage. So keep that in mind. The new system is pretty awesome. And lastly, the last thing we needed to talk about, and this is extremely quick, and make sure that you are logging in and you do that first login, because they gave a post 1-year anniversary gift, a 1 year with DFree, and this gift featured all that stuff in it. Pretty cool to receive. Alicia got a new costume. She looks great in it, but she's largely useless now, unfortunately, but it is what it is. And then they go through all of your metrics, you know, as long as you've been playing, all the battles you've done, all that stuff. So pretty cool overall. All right, so now that we've basically paid the bills, Netmarble, if you're watching, I covered all 3 of them in this video. All right, so that being said, that new awaken feature. So firstly, I don't have it open. It would take me quite a while to get that open on here, unfortunately, but I'll leave a video in the description if you want to see it more in detail. But the way that system works is that there's a button there, and it basically takes you over to Sung. Okay, fine. Okay, fine. Okay, fine. We'll pull it up because it's just so much easier if I actually show you. All right, well, I don't know how long this took. It took like a solid 5 minutes or whatever just to get in this stupid game. This game is so not optimized. It's really bad. Anyway, it's a demo. I'm not mad. But anyway, so here's a look at how things are in this game. Quite different. I love how the escalator works, by the way. It's such a different touch, right? Anyway, in this game, there's a button here, as you see, Monarch's Awakening. And what it does is it shifts you over to the Monarch here. Now, in solo leveling Arise proper, there is no mechanic like this, but since this game uses the exact same engine, quite literally, all the same models, everything, I would assume this is an easy, I don't want to say copy paste, but like very easy thing for them to port over. Also, I wonder why they don't show, you know, Sung's face. That could be a fun thing. Anyway, so I would expect multiple things. Firstly, I would expect for more variations of this, right? Maybe more potential views, things that you can see, alternates, stuff like that in terms of like Monarch Awakens. Because Sung, even in the manhwa, has a few different looks when he's basically in this state. So anyway, I would expect that. But in terms of like when to expect this on solo leveling Arise, I think that the next they would either, here's the thing, either a milestone like update, I don't know what number they're on, let's say 3.0, like something like a 0.0 instead of like a, you know, these other incremental updates. That's something to look forward to. A download celebration, we don't see many of those. Like an active players / download celebration would be a time to put this in. Otherwise, I would assume a days threshold. Like we're just past the anniversary, maybe 500 days, something like that, a days threshold. And then there's the obvious extreme of half anniversary and then the 2-year anniversary. Like those are also on the table too. Do we expect another year to go by? That could be a thing. Here's the reason why another year could go by before we see this. Well, a sense of exclusivity, right? So this, with this being its own standalone game, they clearly, quite literally, it's extremely obvious by the fact that that's in this game and not in the other game. They quite literally saved that mechanic for this game, right? And it's the same thing that's going on with co-op. Like they quite clearly designed a functioning co-op for this game and said, we'll worry about the other game later, right? Now, I'd assume the other game still gets more versions of the co-op it had versus the Ant King, or maybe a better version using some of what this game has, you know, been able to achieve whenever this game is officially fully out in a few months. But that stuff is quite literally here for this game. So there would be a sense of exclusivity to where that is a selling point. So, hey, if you want to play with Monarch Sung, you can buy this game because this will be a buy to play game. You can buy this game and play with Sung. Another cool thing with this, by the way, was that it did also have this skill tree system for the Monarch. Now, you couldn't change the Monarch's skills, but it was cool nonetheless that he has an entire move set predicated on this. But this doesn't have skill leveling, runes, etc. You just put stuff on and you go, right? So that's pretty cool. I would expect, like I said, for there to be more moves in the official release for the Monarch, some level of customization, all that stuff. But yeah, in terms of like when to expect that in solo leveling Arise, I would expect it. Now, I don't know if it's going to come in that exact capacity. By the time it makes its way to the game, they maybe will have refined it to some degree, or maybe they put it in solo leveling Arise and it's a dumbed down version of it. That could be a thing. That could be a thing where it doesn't work the same way, doesn't have the same functionality. They're not going to give us to be fair, there's only one Sung. Like they're never going to make, the way I see it anyway, I don't think they'll ever make another Sung Jinwoo that's not the one that we already have, right? Like that would just be weird. But you know, they're never going to make another one of those, so they will have to give him that functionality in and of itself at some point. And I do wonder about the balance, because this game is totally different. You don't have to, if you're Netmarble, you don't have to balance this game anywhere near the same way you have to balance the other one. And the reason why is the timer. This game doesn't have that stupid timer. And that is like arguably the biggest difference, because I can go into a gate and I quite literally spent 30 minutes in a red gate. Quite literally spent 30 minutes fighting a red gate. I could have done faster, but the fact there was even a possibility matters. And so that trickles down to all the other little things like the shadows and stuff. The shadows have so much like infinitely more usability and staying power in this game than they have in Solo Leveling Arise, because the shadows are designed in a way where they have to pop in and do their thing and leave in the other game and try. I think they've had trouble with balancing the shadows, balancing Sung Jinwoo's power, things like that around the game and the way that the game is designed, especially since the shadows can be used in non-Sung content, right? That matters a lot. And the way that they add power to your party. I mean, even here's a non-Sung stage. Those characters are not going to be applicable to this team, at least not in the beta. I don't know if that'll change, but yeah. So anyway, they would have to worry about the balancing of an awakening mechanic on Sung. So I don't know if it has the extra gauge, you know, all that stuff, and even lets him use the ultimate twice. I don't know if that's a thing, you know, like in that version of the game, because he uses the awakened ultimate and then the second one. A good proxy to look at would be what they did. By the way, this game has no auto, which is low-key also annoying. Anyway, a good proxy would be to look at what they did with Thomas Andre. But can they do that with Sung? Sung's got such a different layout. Can they do that with Sung? It would require a little bit more work to implement that system for Sung, because you'd have to say, oh, when this skill is used, do this, and then trigger that, and then all this other stuff. So they'd have to worry about it a little bit more. But regardless, the fact that it exists here is all you need to know. That just tells me already that that's a possibility, right? So that's how things are overall. But anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure you hit that thumbs up and subscribe. Once again, click that support link down below in the description, all that fun stuff, and I'll see you all over there as well. I'll be sending out codes within a couple of days as well, so make sure that you're checking that if you are a follower of mine. I appreciate it.